When we were kids, Dad would plant some sugar beets, and we girls were supposed to work it, but we were too little to top it, but we could weed it. And I remember the year, see, I suppose, I don't remember Janie working in there, Norma and I. And then we were, got some money when it was harvested, and we bought a piano, so I got a share of the piano. Little things like that. And whenever Dad and them went to town, that was a big deal, to go get groceries in Bloor.
Yeah.
Then Norma was in charge. Dad would put the lamp in the middle of the table. Now, don't, you see, Grandpa wouldn't let them cut down the pine trees, so we couldn't get electrical in the house. And then when they got electricity, the house burned up. They had somebody from Elmer do the wiring, and it was in the walls. Oh, that was terrible, 1948. But anyway, Norma would be in charge, and the first thing she did was clean up everything and kick us all out of the house, so we wouldn't mess anything up.
So she wouldn't have anything to clean up.
And yeah, she was in charge, but then she left when she was 14. And they were one of the biggest classes in high school, and they were we called them a wild bunch. They would, they would go to a town called Bancroft where they danced and all, because no one could dance there. But they had really a big class, and unfortunately, most of them died younger than I would expect.
Oh.
Yeah, most of them. But I remember once, we were never allowed to drive a car, but she took Dad's car. And it came home with dents on it and stuff. And I don't know what she said to Dad, but he said, cars are not for pleasure. So, but there were dents, so I don't know what happened. I never did get any story, but I can remember Dad saying, cars are not for pleasure. They're necessary.
Yeah.
Okay, I bet you this will be a little strong, kid.
See,
But
I told you. I told you.
No, I think it'll be good. But, and she was, I can tell you this, Norma was the prettiest girl in that class. She was beautiful. She was a beautiful person and smart. She and Lee were valedictorian and salutatorian. Shirley was valedictorian when she
Did you want
graduated.
some?
Yeah.
Lots, little.
Yep, that's it. That should be.
That looks
good.
just about perfect.
Yes. Well, let's see how. Well, here you are, John. It's good.
It is. You did it right. Did you write down the formula so you know how many
No, I never
scoops?
do that. It's my guess. But
You're just
Boy,
lucky you
no.
didn't put that last scoop in.
yeah, because it's not bitter, is it?
Mm-mm.
But anyway, our childhood was, on the farm, and we didn't have much. But when I was a senior, I went to town and lived with a lady a year.
But you only did it
1
for
year.
1 year.
But
But she did it every year, starting freshman.
yeah.
So the entire school year she would be in town, and then she came back during the summer. She must have, because there would be work to do.
Yeah. I suppose she did. I actually don't think she stayed like the whole summer, because I think that woman wanted her there to work and
Yeah.
do everything.
If she was used to using her for the school year, she probably
Mhm.
wanted her during the summer too.
She wouldn't come though. But all of this was like World War II time and stuff. And then she went into that cadet nursing.
Mhm.
Have you heard that? She was a cadet nurse, and that's where she met your dad. And I was the attendant at the wedding. Did I give you that little picture?
You did. I got that.
Had you had that before?
No, I've never seen that.
I found it. And I had a lot of photos damaged by water. I had them in a book, and a little sunroom leaked. But I had that little folder and I thought, I don't know if anybody else has that.
No,
And
and I don't think Jim, I mean, I went, Jim was able to go through Dad's stuff more
Okay.
than I was, but, we went through all the photographs and everything that Dad had up at Jim's place after.
Yeah.
I picked up the car and no.
I
In fact, there's
remember,
very few old photographs. I mean, the only things that he had were sort of the more recent things that he had taken of me and Jim and, you know, sort of 1955
Mhm.
and after. There was no old stuff at all.
well, anyway,
So no, we didn't have that.
I remember she had a green suit on with an orchid, and I had a brown suit with them, and then we went dancing. And I don't know where we went, someplace where we ate and had dancing, then we were dancing, and then
Because this must have been in Minneapolis that they got married,
Yeah.
right?
they got married in the Lutheran church there. Not in the church itself, but a little side room or
Okay.
something.
It was just kind of a
Yeah.
justice of the peace kind of wedding with
Or
just,
like the little chapel room
Right.
they get.
it was just a preacher and
Yeah, I
That's
don't
man,
remember,
that's woman.
nobody else there. And that guy was really funny and fun, but I know,
how come?
how come what?
How come they didn't get, I mean, with all of you down here,
I was the only one who went.
right, I wonder why.
They just kept it very simple.
Hmm.
And you know, Chris and I moved them to, there's other things. When they lived in Bloomington, when he went, well, I remember the other place, we lived in Clara City, because we
Right.
used to stop there often, on our way up north. But when they lived in, so many funny things. When they lived in Bloomington, there was a little neighborhood thing. I don't know if it was playing cards or bridge or whatever. And she had a little kitty with the money, and someone stole it. So she said, I'm so worried, I don't know how much money it's in. So she just put money in. You know, Norma was always wanting to do the right thing. You maybe knew that.
Yes, yes.
And so I remember talking about that, because she was always worried about something like that. So that, and then you knew, Chris and I moved him to Duluth. He had a pickup. We had a pickup, and they built the boards on the side. And somewhere I had pictures of those standing by. And then we went up there, and I think I got sick and got the flu. And I was scared. Norma, I think she gave me a shot or something. And I said, I don't know. It's Betty, she said. So, but we didn't stay there long, but it was kind of cold there. Nasty.
Always cold there.
Yeah, ooh.
So that was when they left Minneapolis to go up for his internship.
yeah.
Okay.
So that was it. And then, of course, we came up to your place up in Washington different times.
Mhm.
And we had a good time, and she said, I'm getting tired of these. When they had they'd meet at different houses, she said, they can just all come here and I'll fix the food. Because those ladies, didn't really put on a meal or stuff. So we had a New Year's party there and stuff. And had and all those homemade things she made, Left Sun
yeah.
cookies and whatever. And, I went up right before she passed away, not right before, at Christmas, I took, I had vacation from school, so I went up there, and she was in one room, and she said, and before I left, they put her out of that kind of critical room to another one.
Hmm.
And then I left, and she was pretty good. I had a pretty good time, but she was still in the hospital when I left. But that was a pretty good time. I just was a little upset, of course. But, and then later on, we were all there for the funeral. And You remember how much it rained and I was driving into Seattle? It poured. And someone almost missed their plane. I think Janie and them almost missed their plane. You could not see. You could not see, it was so bad. And then we came on home. Let's see, what are some other things? It's kind of interesting. And when we were kids, the neighbor lady, which would be a cousin, picked us up for Sunday school. Dad didn't want to go to that church because he didn't like the farmer who beat the widow out of the farm during the Depression. I will not sit in the pew with Peter Hansen. Isn't it? I can remember that. He was just that.
This is Bethany.
Mhm,
Bethany was
mhm.
So he would not go to that church.
No. And then
Did he drive you all to the church and then? Did he drive you to the church and drop you
the
off?
neighbor lady, cousin
Okay.
Ida Mundell. They never had children, but they adopted a couple of boys. And they tell the story about, Norma, the firstborn. They just thought that she was a real pretty little girl, and they were so excited, the neighbors and all. And Ida was like a grandma or something to her. And she had a piece to say in the program at church. We always had programs in church.
Mhm.
And they said she got up there, she said part of it, and then she said, "What's next, Ida?" Because she'd forgotten something. I mean, little things like that you hear about.
Right.
It was kind of cute. But we all went to that country school. Didn't you like that picture?
And you wanted me to keep that picture,
Yeah.
is that right? Okay, because I didn't bring it back with me.
I don't know where I got that picture.
It's a very good picture.
And I made it and sent it to everybody that was on there that I could think of. And some responded and some didn't, but I do not remember that picture being taken
Yeah.
because it looks professional.
It looks very good,
Someone from the county, Faribault County, must have taken pictures at all the country schools. And of course, we had a big country school, and Dad and them, I think they were on school board, made sure we got a good teacher. And I can name every one of them. Miss Knudsen, Miss Larson, and not Amble, I didn't like her, but those other two. And so we had a good basic education.
And the country school went up to
Eighth
eighth
grade.
grade, and then they went into town
For high
for
school.
the high school. Okay.
And we all walked, can you see the herd of us going? Isaac's kids and our kids, because we lived in the same house. And they were called the Valdo boys, the brothers. And the mothers were sisters.
Mhm.
And they had part of the house, we had part of the house, and we were kind of same age. George and I were inseparable. We walked down the side, together. And when it was we had a terrible winter. I remember that when I was little, about first grade. I remember all of it. The little kids didn't have to come to school for about a month because it was too cold.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And when a snowstorm came up, Dad and them came with the sleigh and horses and got us home and took the teacher. I don't know where they dropped her off. Miss Knudsen, and she lived a long time. And Jensen, they were really good teachers. So then into high school, we had a bus that picked us up. And I
So
remember
how far was the country school from where you lived?
a mile,
A mile.
about a mile. Yeah, we were almost to the end, and it was almost to the end.
Okay.
And there were Stanley Persick. Did she ever mention his name? She
Mm.
He's on that one picture with Norma and I. That was two boys, and then Persick was one, and then the cousin adopted two boys, so they walked, and then we were all there. So we were half of the school.
So was Mom the oldest of the two families? Or was Leon?
No,
Because Leon was...
Shirley.
Shirley was the oldest, and then,
Leah Norma.
so she was the third in line, age-wise?
Well, second
Second,
in line.
okay.
And then it was me, and then Levon. And Janie and Arnie, they moved to town at the house burned. That was really tragic.
I was gonna ask you, so your grandfather, Ole,
Yeah.
that was his farm.
But it
What
was,
what did he do when, how did your father and Isaac,
he retired
the
at
farm?
50. And he let them, he must have given them that land.
okay. So he just stopped farming at 50 and moved into Frost?
Yeah.
Then, okay.
And that house is still standing.
Right.
Did you see
Yeah,
it?
I saw that, okay.
It's still standing, and he used to have a big garden. He never owned a car. He walked 4 miles to church
Hmm,
from the farm to Bethany, 4 miles.
wow.
And then
But no,
that grandma died when I was,
about 5 or 6,
but I remember seeing her once.
it's Christie.
And I don't know what she had, but I can see her sitting in a chair all in black with her hair straight back. So I don't know what her problem was.
Well, Levon was saying that you guys used to look forward to going to Grandpa and Grandma Berg's, but not so much the Baldo.
No, we
side.
never went in the town, but
They were-
every
they were,
so, yeah.
they were much more stern, severe,
Well, grandma
less
was
fun,
Yeah,
as opposed to the Bergs
yeah.
side.
Yubi was such Uncle George was such a character, black curly hair, and come in his old car. So every Sunday, I'm switching, talking back and forth, but every Sunday, the boys would go get Grandpa Ole, and he'd come to the farm, and Uncle George would bring Grandpa Lambertberg. He was a really fine man.
Okay.
He was a very fine man, and there they would sit talking Norwegian and German all the time. And therefore we kids never really picked up a language, but I have a good ear for languages if I really went in to study one, because we grew up with Spanish
Right.
all summer, and we played with those kids, and we heard German. But Uncle George was always a kidder. He said today, he came, he said, I killed the Easter rabbit. We were horrified because I don't know if he did, but he'd all say things like that. Down on the corner, we thought, oh. But another thing we did, I don't know if Norma did so much, but I suppose she did. George and I would walk from school down to their house. It had to be at least 4 miles on a funny little dirty little road, and stay the weekend with Grandpa. And I don't know if Norma did, because she didn't have a girl partner, because it would be Lee, and he would never leave to do that. And then we'd spend the weekend and go into Rake and grocery shop with them. I can even remember the people in the grocery store. John Moss, German, of course. They always talk German then. And that store is now a tavern. That store is over 100 years old, and it's a tavern, but it's got the same crumbling foundation stuff. So we did that, but we never went on a vacation or out to eat together. Never.
The two families.
Yeah, no. We
Well,
didn't
there's
go-
too many of you.
Yes, to get in the car. Oh, but I gotta tell you, this was fun. They used to have a free show in Frost on Wednesday night in the summer, if it didn't rain. And if Dad would quit in the fields, we'd go out and we'd carry lunch to Dad on the tractor. We'd take a jar with coffee and a sandwich or something, and then we'd ride up and down the field, and we'd say, well, we hope you quit so we can go to the free show tonight. And then they'd go visit Grandpa Baldo,
Okay.
and we kids would have a blanket and go
So
sit.
outside.
There was an outside thing with mosquitoes, and then we'd get the show started and it'd break down. But, it would break down. But then we go to show, and then we get a nickel for popsicle, and there were 2 popsicles, you know, then,
Mhm.
and we break
sticks.
apart. And sometimes it wouldn't be even or such things. But we did a lot, and then we, whenever there was a child born, Grandma Bird would come and be at the house. We never.
So everybody was born at the house, probably.
All of us were born on the farm in that house, but Isaac's, I think they had lived away. I think that Shirley was born someplace else. But I think all the rest were born. And Doc Hanson would come, and we were so ignorant of sex. I think we thought he brought a baby in a bag. I mean, I don't. It was just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I remember Arlene when she was little, and she was a fussy little thing. She was always sick, so they had to buy a goat and get goat's milk. You heard that story?
Yeah.
And I remember Orvie, and he was such a cute little kid, blonde and blue eyes, the first-born boy. We never had boy stuff in the house. And I remember when Gerald was born, but I think Mom said when I was a baby one day, you know, she was young, she went in the bedroom, I suppose I was laying on the bed, and Norma was on top of me playing with me, a newborn kid. How we survived, I don't know. But, and I remember someone, it must have been, not Levon, must have been Arlene, when she was little. One of the babies came home, I wanted to see it, and they always were in this oval laundry basket.
Mm-hmm.
And I was reaching up to look at the baby, and I tipped the whole thing over on me, and I ran and hid somewhere because I thought I'd killed the baby. And then once I was watching, it might have been Arlene, and I didn't watch in the high chair, and the kid fell out. Oh,
Yeah.
how we survived, I don't know.
Yeah. Also many.
Yeah, and we used to play in the playhouse a lot. We played out in the grove. That was the thing we did when we were kids.
Yeah.
And we played with the Mexican children, and we'd fight with them and stuff. And then did you ever hear?
So did they live on the
across
farm?
They lived in the old house across all the farm buildings, and the old house that folks first lived in, the grandparents did. The Mexicans lived there, and they stayed all summer and helped with the beets, mainly the sugar beets, because Frost was the sugar beet capital. They were lined up. And I remember one time, did you hear about the Mexican child killed on the farm?
No.
We kids were up on the hill, the house was up on the hill. We were there, and they lived across the street, but we'd play together. And one day, I don't know if this little Mexican boy couldn't hear, or maybe he couldn't understand English. And they were going to come across to play with us, and a car came, that was a gravel road, and hit that kid and killed him.
Right in front of the house.
Right on that gravel road down there. It was very traumatic, and I guess he didn't know which way the little boy was going, you know, he tried to avoid him. And that was really, really traumatic. And I don't know whatever happened, but I know I was, had nightmares about it, like it
So
was
how old were you then? About?
12, maybe about 12. You know, we were in high school, we were a little younger. And sometimes we would fight with them and throw stuff. And once Levon got hit in the head with something, and we thought that, oh, what a commotion that was. Banister up, whatever.
So were they from Mexico? Or did they go back to like Texas or something?
Yeah,
in the
they,
wintertime?
they were.
They
I'd
stayed
say
in the States.
They
weren't-
stayed in the States and would go there. And then when the war came on, they went to the cities and they quit raising sugar beets like we had. Everybody had sugar beets, you know.
You never see, or rarely see a field of sugar beets nowadays.
No, and there was a sugar refinery in Mason City.
Mm.
I think the building might still be standing. Could be. So that was, that was part of the childhood, was this sugar beets. And we could weed the sugar beets, but we were too little to top them and
Okay.
clip them, you know.
Yeah.
But if we thought there was gonna be a frost, we kids would go out, Dad would take us out, we'd have to cover them with the topping so they wouldn't freeze. The top, the green topping,
Okay.
we just covered them.
Hmm.
And then of course, everything was done by hand. They scooped those sugar beets into a truck and took them into town. And I can remember these old pickups would not pay